me, 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 me. I don't like it. Me. DSP cries it.
Hello, and welcome to James, the Lesser Express Line, where we get you in and out as fast as possible with... This is a doozy. We all know DSP hates Baldur's Gate 3, but this rant about a fucking spear is just insane. Guys, less than 24 hours after Larian stole my spear from me, a bunch of people died in a bridge collapse, guys. It's the same thing. Let's watch.
Let me tell you guys something, all right? And again, you know me, I'm honest. I'm not a butt kisser, but I also don't irrationally hate things for clickbait views. The further we go into Baldur's Gate 3 Endgame, the more I dislike this game, all right? And this is a game that I understand is something that attempted to do something probably never done in any kind of an RPG before.
You don't understand it because you never paid attention. That's one of the biggest issues.
It tried to make an unmatched, insane amount of quantity while still maintaining a certain level of production value and quality in a retail gaming experience. You know, this is not a game that you paid $400 to play, although some people might very well say that's a justified price tag for the amount of content in the game, okay? But man, after yesterday's stream, the entire stream was like a comedy of errors. And as much as I'd like to admit that sometimes I'm the one making the mistakes, yesterday was just atrocious, okay? Simply using game mechanics that have worked the entirety of the game led to failure and disaster. Bugs, glitches, horrible design choices, frozen characters, screens teleporting back and forth between two rooms when I wasn't even in a room involved in something. It was just nonsense, okay? And it all culminated at the very end of that session with me ultimately looking to lose a legendary weapon that is essential for the build of my character Karlach. And if it doesn't exist anymore, basically she's going to be nearly worthless, all right? Because
it's a single weapon. A weapon that was absolutely worthless in the fight against Gortash because he's immune to electricity or thunder damage. And that's the damage that the spear did. Also, this man was valedictorian of his high school. He didn't understand what a projectile was. What? I didn't use a projectile against him. I threw a spear at him. You idiot, that's a fucking projectile.
there's really no way to replace that weapon. Did I do something wrong to deserve that? No, it's just a
He did nothing wrong. He did everything correct.
wonky game engine. And that's sad because a game with this many moving parts, there's so much to keep track of. I can understand when every once in a while something goes wrong. In fact, I can understand if like every third of the time something random happens and you're not expecting it. But when you're in the end game and you have a situation where you've built a character over the course of 130 hours and everything you've done has worked towards this character's build, and basically this character is so good, they've single-handedly been the reason you have won endgame challenging boss fights like the Raphael fight. And then to say, oh, we just decided in this particular fight, there's going to be a random variable that's going to cause chaos, and now an item will...
The random variable is Gortash had immunity, or no, it wasn't immunity. It was reflection of projectiles. Any projectile weapon was reflected. And again, this dumbass, I don't get it. I just threw a spear. That's not a projectile. Why did it reflect? Do you not understand what a projectile is, jackass?
will literally be yeeted from existence, finger snapped out of the game engine. It's completely unacceptable. You know, last week I ranted about a character in my party leaving and taking all his equipment with him. Now, you can argue that's the result of my choices in the game. Fair enough. I just don't like the way that he walks out of the game with no way to get those items back and no opportunity to even know that he's about to leave. In this case, I didn't do anything wrong. It's just the game engine that's causing me strife, and it looks like at the very end of the game is going to screw me over, and now we've got to pull a last-minute audible to figure out how to remedy the situation. In fact, it's so funny because literally right now, no one can concretely tell me what actually happened, nor is anyone sure if that spear actually exists or not in the game world. A lot of people are under the impression it's gone, and others are like, maybe it's hidden. So we got to try to figure this out as we play today. It's just a mess. And the fact is, for a game that is supposed to be Game of the Year, for a game...
Supposed to be. It's not supposed to be Game of the Year. It is Game of the Year. It's won Game of the Year multiple times.
That's supposed to be adhering to a very strict rule set of D&D. It shouldn't be a variable. We don't know what happened. It should be very distinct and easy to figure out what happened, and it's not. And that's a problem. Okay? So...
The ongoing theory is, during the fight, the weapon was knocked away, or something happened that the weapon was not actually in her hand. And then to use it on the turn that he used it on, like to pick it up and equip it, he wouldn't have been able to use it that turn. But his chat told him you can use it directly from the ground. And so he used it directly from the ground without equipping it. And so when it was thrown, instead of returning back to the character, who knows what the fuck happened to it. Looked into it, and that appears to be what happened. That appears to be what the correct ruling is. That because he did not equip it first, because if he equipped it first after picking it up, he wouldn't have been able to use it again until another turn, which he wouldn't have made it to because he would have been dead. So since he threw it directly from the ground without initially equipping it to himself, that's what's bugging with the game.
Today, we are going to talk all about yesterday's disaster stream of Baldur's Gate 3 and how the comedy of errors built up to the ultimate fumble and now what to do moving forward. Good news is, we're in the final hour, right? It's in the we're running to the end zone. We're almost there. We're going to finish this game in just a few days, and then finally, we'll be done with it. We can say enough, because I'll be honest, like, I've enjoyed the game. There's no way I would have played a game for 130 plus hours if I...
He's hated it every single fucking second of it, but he makes $100 every single time. In fact, he made like, what, $105 on this stream? Just saying.
I wasn't overall enjoying myself.
Oh, but he made $8 on Like a Dragon last night. And hilarious.
Make that clear. But I also feel like this game basically got an insane amount of passes when other games would have been judged very harshly for the problems that this game has because there was this humongous hype behind it for whatever reason. And I don't know, because actually I'm not into D&D. I'm not into Larian Studios games or this style of game. So I actually don't know where the hype came from.
It came from being one of the best fucking games ever made. Dumbass.
All right. I respect the game for a lot of the things it's trying to do, making essentially the longest retail game possible. I don't think I've ever played a video game before where I paid regular retail price and got this much content out of it, right? And it's not rehashed fetch quests. It's not go grind against 1,000 goblins. It's all unique. That's a huge undertaking and a huge accomplishment, in my opinion. But FYI, I'm sorry. I do feel like this game is overhyped, is overpraised. It has these wonky problems, these jankiness to the game.
Wonky problems and jankiness that only you appear to have. I've played it completely once and started multiple games, never made it past Act 1. Then finally made it to Act 3 on another run. The only issues I've ever had were because I'm using mods. That's been it. The only jankiness and bugs I've ever had is because I'm using mods. I've never had the issues this guy's had.
Game engine. The problem that it's just so complex. Again, it's so many moving parts that at some point you have to understand that when something goes wrong, it's just not fun anymore. And that's the point I'm at. Like after yesterday, I'm at my wit's end with this game. I just want it to end so we can say it's done. I've done it. Move on. And that's not good. You shouldn't have that feeling when you've invested 130 hours into a game, that one game of the year. You shouldn't have a feeling of incredible exhaustion and just wanting to move on at the end of it.
Exhausted from playing a video game.
And I do. And that's my honest take. And listen, I'm sure there's tons of people out there who don't have that feeling or never did during the course of playing the game. I can only share with you my thoughts from my personal experience. This game fell apart in the third act. It really did. Like, there's so many problems we've had in this third act, and this is just the icing on the cake now, that it's hard to recommend someone invest this much time into a game that at the end can ruin you because it decides to. You know what I mean? So anyway, let's talk about it, all right? Let's go ahead and discuss the stream from yesterday. Just to get this out of the way, here's the schedule for the week. Today, tomorrow, and Friday. Baldur's Gate 3, Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth, with the intention of beating the games. I'm not here Thursday. It's my day off from streaming. My intention is to wrap these up, hopefully, by Friday night. So that way, we can move on. We can play Dragon's Dogma 2. We can perhaps play a new game, such as Alone in the Dark, which I'm actually very interested in now, and I think you guys would enjoy. A lot of people are like, yeah, survival horror is up your alley.
He'll be back to Baldur's Gate 3. We know that the game breaks $100. But again, with the spear, the bug is, let's see how to explain it. Like, you can pick up other things and throw them. But, like, let's say you pick up a barrel and you throw it and it breaks. Well, it's gone. You use up its HP. The spear didn't have HP. So when he was able to pick it up from the ground and throw it immediately instead of equipping it first, they treated it like an environmental item, like a barrel. And now it's gone. I just love that. Without that spear, Karlach's worthless. She's a barbarian. What the? Give her a big stick and have her hit people with it. That's what she's for.
We want to see it. Or maybe going back to Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, I want to start my co-op playthrough with my wife of Beyond Two Souls, which is going to be really neat because we haven't done a full co-op playthrough of anything before. Because this one's narrative based and she's never played it. I think it's going to be super fun. Essentially, I feel like we are definitely ready to move on, and that's why I need to push to finish these games. Okay, so that's just the schedule for the week. Okay, just so you guys know. We're not going to be doing anything crazy or anything. We just need to finish these games and we move on to new stuff. I know I played Dragon's Dogma 1, or excuse me, Dragon's Dogma 2 on Friday when it came out for one day, and I haven't touched it since, and I can't until we finish these games. All right? Okay, so I don't really need to go too crazy here talking about the schedule. You know what it is. Okay, now let's go very briefly through yesterday's stream of Baldur's Gate 3. Okay, first things first, we had finished up the Iron Throne quest.
First things first, he hates the game, has always hated it. And this rant is just gonna keep fucking going. Mind you, this is at 1.25 speed. We're at 1.25 speed. It's still gonna take a long time.
Line. And right off the bat, I was confused because I didn't really get a reward for it. Like, I saved everyone inside the Iron Throne prison, including Duke Ravengard, including, what was it, Amalum?
He got a robe that gave him defense against both cold and fire damage. Not bad.
The Mind Flayer, the friendly Mind Flayer, including all of the gnomes and the other prisoners that were in there. And I'm like, so I'm definitely going to get a great reward because I basically did it flawlessly. I got nothing. Wow, thanks for that. Thanks for one of the most anxiety-inducing parts of the game, literally not rewarding me in any way for it. Then we went to go to Amalum's group, which we never even knew that they had a building in Baldur's Gate before, and he basically rewards you with a bunch of items that are completely worthless at the end of the game. So why they would hand those to you, I have no idea. We loot the house, and there's nothing in the house either. There's actually a big safe in it.
He says, "This is from our safe. Thank you for saving me." Then he hands him a bag with a bunch of items in it. And then DSP goes to the safe afterwards. "Huh, there's nothing in the safe. Why do you have this big old safe with nothing in it?" Because the items that were in it were just handed to you as the reward.
A hidden room, it's empty. Oh, thanks. Thanks a lot. So then, we went to Steelwatch, okay? And, man, right off the bat, we have problems. So I'm trying to sneak into Steelwatch. And the game's guard aggroes, not to my main character, but
it saw Lae'zel, so it targeted Lae'zel. Dumbass! If you'd paid any amount of attention to the game, you would know that, oh hey, the person it targeted was the person that it fucking saw. And that's why it targeted that character, because that's the character that it fucking saw. Dumbass.
But to Lae'zel, for no reason, because the game should always aggro to your party leader. I don't care about positioning, I don't care about that bullshit, because that's just dumb.
I don't care about the fucking position of the character. I don't care who they saw, they should just give me the opportunity. DSP, it didn't see Dark Side or Dark Scale Phil. It saw Lae'zel, so it targeted Lae'zel.
Shit. When you're playing an RPG, your party leader should be the one involved in any dialogue options, period. I don't care about their rationale, it's just bad game design, okay? So it picks Lae'zel.
Ah, I want to yell at him.
Well, can't do the check, because Lae'zel doesn't have any speech check, ability, so let's reload. So we reload, and then we do it again, and this time Dark Scale Phil gets detected. I pass the speech check, which says, oh, the guard lets you in, and then the guard immediately aggroes to me again and does exactly the same speech check a second time. And I'm like, I passed the speech check. Why is the guard acting like I didn't do it, and now we have to do it again? It doesn't make any sense. It's a game bug. So we have to fight the guard. I kill the guard, and we get inside. So that's bug number one, by the way. We get inside, and there's a room full of people talking, okay? And I'm like, listen, now, in the entirety of this game, if you use stealth, you can sneak by entire encounters, entire situations. You can skip fights. Just use stealth.
He skipped so many fucking fights.
So I said, I'm going to use the same mechanic I've used the whole game, and it's always worked. No reason to think it wouldn't here, okay? I actually sneak by the entire room of people. It's a mix of, like, slaves and enemies and everything in there, okay? And I go to the next room, and I go into a room where already there's combat. It looks like the gnomes or dwarves or whoever they are fighting the guards. So a fight ensues. Okay, well, they see me. All right, we're going to fight. But what happens is, the game decided, again, what great coding here and what great writing. There was supposed to be a conversation that was supposed to happen in the room before that's tied to the story of the Steelwatch Foundry. So because I skipped it, the game decides now to initiate 2 fights at once in 2 different rooms. Despite the fact none of my party is in that first room, the camera decides it's going to jump back and forth between people in 2 completely different rooms, making the camera go light, dark, light, dark, light, dark, light, dark, light, dark, light, dark. Now, again, if it were me screwing up, right, that'd be one thing. What if I aggroed in the first room, then I aggroed in the second room, my party was split? That's happened before in the playthrough, and now I kind of understand why that happened. I didn't do that. The game just decided, oh, there was a conversation you were supposed to psychically know about in the first room tied to the story. You shouldn't skip it. If you do, now a fight ensues, but you're also in another fight, so now there's 2 fights going on at once. Basically, the game becomes completely unplayable, because what happens is the turns bar glitched, and it had turns appearing, disappearing, appearing, disappearing, appearing, disappearing endlessly. It wouldn't even settle. It was just like wobbling around all fucked up. And I started playing it, and people were like, dude, you've just got to reload. This thing is going nuts, and it doesn't look like it's even working right. Like, all right, so I'll reload it, right? So that's bug number 2. Sorry, and you guys are, well, that's not a bug. Well, it is, because nowhere else in the game does this occur, where you have a required conversation in the room before you cannot skip with stealth, and then it creates 2 fights in 2 separate rooms going on at the same time.
He was underleveled for the majority of the game because he skipped so many fucking fights. And it finally came back to bite him in the ass here. Good job, Larian.
With the camera juggling back and forth, it shouldn't happen like that. So either it's bad coding or it's a game bug. You can call it whatever you want. It's a problem. So that's like major problem number 2 of the stream. Okay? So then I reload, and I said, well, I guess I got to go engage with the first group of people, because if I don't, it's going to screw up if I skip and go to the second. So I engage with the first group of people, big fight. I save everyone in the room. Literally, I saved every single slave that was there. Good. So now they're all on my side. And one of them actually says, hey, I have the ability to disable the foundry. Get me into that final room, and I'll do it for you. Okay, sounds good. But I need to long rest before we do that, because I've already...
Long resting is what bugged him. You weren't supposed to long rest. It's like, this is urgent. We need to get there and do this now. All right, let me go back to camp and sleep for the night. But we need to go do this now. That's what bugged it. Not the game. You long resting when you were supposed to long rest.
Already had 2 fights, so let's long rest. So we walk outside, we long rest. We come back. That person has disappeared from the universe. Where the fuck did they go? Why are they not here? I don't know. You tell me. Does it make sense that they would be there waiting for me? I go long rest, I come back, they've just vanished. Everyone else in the room is still there. Just the one person I need who's critical to the story in the Steel Foundry has disappeared. So now people are looking it up online and say, oh, he's at your camp. Why? Why did he follow me to camp? He's in the world. Everyone else stayed in the world. Why did he follow me to camp? Doesn't even make sense. Well, go get him. Okay, I go to my camp. He is there. I talk to him. Come with me. Okay, we go back to the world. He glitches. He literally gets stuck. He won't walk. He won't talk. He just stands there like a fucking statue, completely uninteractable. I'm holding down the button that does the area selection. He can't even be selected.
Again, you bugged him by long resting. You weren't supposed to long rest.
It's like he's there, but he...
Oh no, guys. We need to rush into the burning building and save those kids before they die. All right, let me long rest. Come back from long rest. Oh no, all the children in the building died because the building was on fire and we're supposed to rush inside. Oh, I guess that's a bug too, DSP.
Does not exist. So guess what? That option to complete the quest has been removed from my game because the game glitched out. That's bug number 3. That's 3 already. We're not even halfway through the stream yet. 3 huge critical bugs happening in the game within like an hour and a half period. Okay? So I said, well, I don't know what I'm supposed to do. Now I have a bomb to blow this place up. I don't want to do that. In fact, the game kind of leaned towards don't do that. That's a bad karma choice, because if you do that, you can end up hurting people. All right? So I'm like, I don't want to do that, but I guess that's the only option I have now because the guy's glitched. He won't come shut it down. So I guess we got to do this. So we end up going back into the next room, which is the room where we initially tried to fight and generated the 2-room fight that was all bugged out. We fight that fight. We win. A few people sadly died in that fight, and there was nothing I could really do about it because the robots are self-destructing and I can't just save everybody. But we did pretty good. Okay, let's go ahead and go into the final room. Big boss, excellent, good fight. I kicked its ass. You know, my lightning is like ultra power now. And all right, so we're at the final part. And here's the thing that says bring the guy to it for him to deactivate it. So I go to try to get him. He just won't. I tried reloading, everything, nothing. He's just frozen forever. He's just bugged in the game universe literally forever. He won't move. So I said, I guess I got to use the bomb. So luckily, because I had done what I had done, meaning I had done the Iron Throne first, the workers had revolted against their captors, and everyone who I had rescued survives. If I hadn't done Iron Throne first and I blew up the foundry, everyone would have died, and that's the bad karma, you see? So, again, so many moving parts, you can't track what becomes what outcome. I had no idea what the outcome was. I was trying to do one outcome that was supposed to be a good option, but apparently you could have done it this way anyway. If I had known that, maybe I wouldn't have cared about the guy bugging out, but it never should have happened to begin with, okay? So, we blow up the foundry. Actually, we get a really cool quest completion where all these factors from the game factor in. Basically, the iron, what is it, the iron gnomes get their big reward, or not reward, but their big like end game plot. And I was like, oh, that was actually a cool outcome. I liked that outcome. Because if I hadn't done all these other things during the game, I wouldn't have gotten that quest outcome, and I actually really liked it. Okay? So, in reality, even with all these bugs that really were annoying as shit, at least I got to a good quest outcome. Okay? So now the only thing left to do next is let's go take out Gortash. All right. And immediately I get some advice. I think it was actually Dark Gaming. He says, well, if you go in the front door, everything's going to aggro to you. Now, the good news is the Steel Watch is deactivated, so the robots won't attack you. But if you go in the front door, all the other guards are going to aggro to you. I said, well, you know what? I had actually found a back way in much earlier on. The first time we had gone to this worm fort castle, whatever the hell it's called, we had found a back way up a ladder. I was like,
the man is such a scat. Of course, he found the back way.
maybe that's what that's actually for, right? So, I'm like, let's do this. So we go up the ladder. Well, first of all, the game has this weird thing where I guess if you take a scroll of feather falling, it affects your whole party. But if you took a potion, it only affects the one person. Again, I played 130 hours into the game. I didn't even know that.
Because you don't pay
too many moving
attention.
parts, too many factors, too many things to know or remember. So
because
I had a little
you
bit
don't
of
pay
an error there where I
attention.
set my party up. I'll take the blame for that one because it's just lack of knowledge of the game. Okay, but then we finally get to the back of the building. We crawl up the ladder. We go inside. There's no enemies whatsoever in line of sight. I'm trying to use basically kind of like sneak around. Immediately we get detected and a fight ensues. There's no one there. There's literally no one there. No one looking at me. I had the line of sight activated.
They were in another room, and there was a door open. When they left the room, they saw you. Fuck, DSP. Wear your glasses, maybe you'd see that happening. But you don't wear your glasses, so you don't see shit.
And no one saw me in line of sight, and the game aggroed to me anyway. Now, you can argue maybe you just didn't see it. You're right, maybe I didn't. But I was being careful. I was trying to be stealthy. That was the whole point of me going in the back. Now I got an extra fight I got to do because the game's being stupid about it, all right? Whatever, we beat the fight, blah, blah, blah. We get to the Gortash boss fight, okay? The Gortash boss fight is, in my opinion, and now I'm 133 plus hours into this game, the most unnecessarily complex fight in the whole game. And I've had fights that were puzzles, and I've had fights...
There's nothing complex about it. You scan him. It says, don't use projectiles. He reflects all projectiles. DSP immediately uses nothing but projectile weapons on him. They all get reflected, and he gets mad about it.
That there was a million enemies. This fight has far too many factors to the point where it's impossible for you to actually focus on what you're doing because there's a million things going on. There's flame traps and turrets on the walls that are constantly shooting grenades and fire. There's a force field...
Yeah, so you can target those and destroy those.
...on Gortash that protects him from damage, that reflects projectiles, and there's two pieces of machinery on the wall that apparently make the field work, but it's not clear how or what you need to do to attack those things. And the room is full of other enemies as well.
You click on them and you attack. Using blunt damage is usually best for those kind of traps and all that. Use blunt damage or force damage, and they get destroyed.
Well, Gortash, of course, isn't a normal enemy. He's a boss, so now he's got all these special abilities and things you've never even seen before, okay? So, immediately you start to read the descriptions of everything, and you're like, okay, so this is resistant to this. This has projectiles that will bounce off of this. This is going to absorb this damage. It's going to reflect this damage. It's highly resistant to this damage, but it's weak to this damage. You got to sit in this fight for 10 minutes before you can even make a move, all right? That's not fun. I'm sorry.
You got to sit there for 10 minutes, not everyone.
It's not. It's frustrating, especially when you're at the end of a stream and you just want to finish this. And it's like, why the fuck do I have to sit here and study this room for 10 minutes to figure out what the fuck's going on? It's way too complicated. You know, I get it. Okay, it's one of the big three bosses before the end of the game. It's still annoying. I'm sorry, I can't enjoy that because it's too complicated. I don't want to sit there studying like I'm a fucking scholar of D&D to do a simple fight. All right? So it was very annoying to me. And basically, as I start, okay, it just becomes a shit show.
It was almost work, guys.
Yeah. That's like the best way I can describe it. So both Darkscale Phil and Karlak are based solely on projectile gameplay. Well, guess what? Everyone in this room is immune to projectiles. It bounces them back. Okay? So
the spear Karlak uses can be used as a close combat weapon. You don't have to throw it.
Immediately, I use Karlak and I throw the spear, which is, this is the big thing that we're going to be freaking out about now. So what?
Yes, he directly read, do not use projectiles. They will be reflected. Immediately uses a projectile.
What is it called? Nirasha? I can't remember the name of the spear. It's incredibly rare. You can only get it in one tiny situation. Nirulna. That's the name of the spear. Nirulna. Okay? It's a legendary spear. You actually get it when you first arrive in the area of Baldur's Gate, the outskirts. There's that fair or like circus going on. Not circus, it's like a festival. And in there's a genie. And the genie, if you piss him off, he warps you to a dinosaur land. And if you complete the dinosaur land, you get this spear as a reward at the end in a chest. Okay? Incredibly rare. This spear is meant to be thrown. And when you throw it, if it successfully connects with an enemy, it creates an area of effect range of thunder damage. So it's cool because, number one, unlike other thrown items, it's guaranteed area of effect damage if it connects, and it can hit a whole group of enemies, okay? Number two, it stacks regular and thunder damage, so you're getting this like big double damage effect. It's incredibly cool. If you have a throw character build, it's super good. Well, I built Karlach to use the spear. So not only does she throw the spear, but she has a glove on that gives her a chance, it's a random chance, to actually teleport to where the spear lands and switch places with the enemy she hit. This has helped tremendously in my game, where there have been hard to reach enemies and bosses, and I teleport them right into my team, and now they're screwed. They get beat up because they're exposed, okay? Now, in addition, with Karlach, you can make a build based on her rage, where when you activate her frenzy mode, she now has a thing that's called frenzied throw. This adds a chance to make the enemy go prone. So if it hits and they go prone, now they're knocked down, and essentially they can't do their turn, and it makes it an endless loop where the enemy really can't do anything. If you just keep hitting them with this turn after turn after turn, basically the enemy's like almost stun locked. And that's how I actually beat the Raphael boss earlier in the game. He couldn't do shit. He just got teleported and stun locked, and he just was like a pussy, which is hilarious.
He read a guide on how to do that. That's what he's so mad about. Because the guide he's been following has been telling him how to do these builds. And now without that weapon, the guide he's been following is completely worthless. The guide he's been following this entire time is now worthless. Because, again, instead of picking up the item and equipping it, which would have made it impossible to use that turn, he threw it directly from the ground, which made it a environmental object. Which, environmental objects, guess what happens when you throw them? They tend to break, which means they're gone from the game. Dumbass.
Because everyone says one of the hardest fights in the game, and I just slapped them around with this strategy, okay? So, pretty good. In addition to that, I recently, at the end of my build of Karlach, I got this ability called, I think it's a feat called Tavern Brawler. And that just makes throwable items even better. All right? So basically, she's crazy good. This throwable spear, Nirulna, big area of effect damage, buffed with all of her abilities, and she can teleport enemies around. Super duper good, right? Now, here's the problem. I don't understand that a thrown item like that is considered a projectile. Like, I would think a projectile would be like a magic spell, like magic missile, right? Or you're shooting a lightning bolt, you're throwing a fireball. That's a projectile to me. I'm not thinking a projectile is a legendary weapon, but that's on me, right? Totally.
Dumbass. You threw it. Makes a projectile.
That's on me. That if I didn't understand that that was going to be a projectile, all right? I even said, let's try it. And it's hilarious. I throw it. It just goes bink right off his force field, comes right back at her. Oh, bonk. Hits her right in the face. It's funny as hell. Like, all right, well, I gave it a shot. It didn't work. But now ensues, all right, the comedy of errors that this game did in this fight. So eventually what ends up happening is the spear lands on the ground. For some reason, Karlach drops the spear, all right? And I think it was because, again, I threw it at an enemy. It was a regular enemy, not Gortash, and they also had the projectile ability. And here's what happened. I actually watched it back, and I know exactly what happened. So as I told you, when you do Frenzied Throw, which is her Karlach's special ability, there's a chance that it will knock the enemy down and make them go prone. I threw the spear at an enemy. It bounced off their force field, came back at Karlach, hit her with the Frenzied Throw, and it knocked her down. So because she fell, she couldn't catch the spear. But it actually is its own contradictory logic, and here's why. Per the game's logic, if the spear connects, she auto-catches it. That's how it works. If the spear connects with any enemy or any person, she catches the spear back. That's how the return spear gameplay mechanic works in Baldur's Gate 3. Okay? So just by logic alone, even if she hit herself with a move, she should auto-catch the spear because it connected. But the game says...
He's just saying all this to try to justify what happened, which was he fucked up. Womp womp.
Oh, well, in this case, she hit herself with her own move that caused her to go prone, so even though in this case she should catch the spear, cancel out that line of logic, and just make her fall and the spear hits the ground. That makes absolutely no sense. From any logic perspective, it doesn't. They just arbitrarily decided, in this case, erase this line. Even though this is how it works the whole game, in this case, just erase this line of code in this certain random, very rare situation, and there's no way you would ever know that. That's their own judgment call to say, erase this outcome, even though it happens every other time, because we feel like it. It's crap. It's bad. It's not logical at all. By a lot.
Now, mind you, I don't know if he actually looks for it. Like, I just know about this rant I've been seeing all day on Twitter. Finally get home from work so I can record this. I might look to see if he actually finds it in the room, which would be hilarious if it was just sitting there on the ground.
Logic standards, spear connects, Karlach catches it. Don't care if she went prone or not. She still have the spear in her hand. Nope, the game just fucks up. Like, okay, whatever you say. All right, that's bullshit. So now the spear is on the floor. Karlach has no weapon. Luckily for me, I have other things I can throw, but I want that goddamn spear back, right? First of all, that's her whole build. And if I don't get that spear back, she's basically going to be kind of worthless for the rest of the playthrough. So now the spear's on the ground. So what am I going to do? I know what I'm going to do. You can pick items up off the ground and throw them. Okay. So again, I use what do you call it? Frenzied throw. Okay, you can do that to either throw something from your inventory or pick something up from the environment and throw it. It shouldn't change the properties of the frenzied throw. It shouldn't change the properties of the item. It should still work. Okay, now at this point, I believe that the shield was down. Gortash's shield was down by luck. What had happened was I was using Shadowheart and I used her Sunbeam, and I was trying to hit enemies, and apparently the Sunbeam passed through the enemies and blew the generator off the wall, so all the shields went down completely by luck. So by dumb luck, I'm actually going to win this boss fight because I was losing badly, okay? But I very chance start coming back. I'm like, oh shit, I can't believe this, right?
Come on, DSP, please. I so hope he looked for it later after this whole rant finds it. It'd be fucking hilarious.
So, I said, the shield's down. Now's my chance. If I can stun lock Gortash, we're going to win this fight, even though we were on the ropes. So I have Karlach get up, walk across the room, pick the spear up as an environmental object off the ground, which should now technically make it an object in her inventory, but apparently...
No! It is not becoming... Holy shit, DSP. 130 hours in, you don't understand this. If my character picks up a barrel, that barrel is not in her inventory. It's a barrel in her hand, and then she throws it. Usually a fire barrel. And hilarious when you get enough fire barrels in a room and you throw one and it blows them all up. It's hilarious. But that fire barrel is not in her inventory. It's just in her hand, and then she throws it. But guys, that's not how I want it to work. I want it to work this way. Well, that's not how the game works. If you paid attention during that 130 hours of gameplay, you would know this.
Who knows how they code this fucking game, right? She throws the spear. The spear hits Gortash. The spear hits her. The spear hits everyone in an area of effect and makes everyone go prone. And the spear disappears from the game world. Completely. Just gone. And I said, where is it? Not on the floor. It's not in her inventory. It didn't blow across the room. It's literally erased. Okay? Now, there's all these...
I'm gonna laugh. Styrian showed up and stole it, right? He is a rogue.
Theories that people are trying to come up with and try to explain it away. But I don't think there's a theory that's going to be correct. I just think their coding is bad. I think that this entire idea of throwing objects was never refined enough. And because of that, it's always janky. People have outright said this. Just listen to this. If you're in stealth, so you haven't engaged in a combat yet, you're not in fighting, and you throw the spear, even if it connects, it doesn't go back to her. It lands on the floor. Why? The whole idea is that she throws this spear, and it's a returnable spear if it connects with the enemy. Well, everyone agrees that's a game bug, that it should return to her, but they've never fixed it. So everyone just works around it. No one uses throwable objects out of cover or out of stealth because they know that they're not going to return. It's fucked up. So if that's fucked up, okay, obviously there's going to be other stuff that's fucked up as well, right? So the whole mechanic shouldn't exist if it's not refined enough to not be a wanky.
The reason that happens is because if you're in stealth, you're not in combat, then the thing you hit is not considered an enemy. That's why when it bounced off of Gortash or whatever shield and hit Karlach, it did not go back to her hand because she is not an enemy. Karlach is not an enemy. So again, if you're in stealth and you're not in fight, whatever you're hitting is not considered an enemy, so it doesn't go back to your hand. It's complicated. It is complicated. You do have to look this stuff up. You do have to get on the Google machine and be like, okay, why the fuck does this not work in this situation? Oh, because it only comes back to your hand when it hits an enemy. If it doesn't hit an enemy, then it doesn't go back to your hand. So if it bounces off a reflection shield and hits you, well, you're not an enemy. It doesn't go back to your hand. If you're not in combat and you throw and you hit someone, well, they're not an enemy because you're not in combat. It doesn't go back to your hand. Complicated? Yes. Very complicated. But, not a bug. You're a dumbass. You can spend 10 minutes on Google, well, probably closer to 30, figure all this shit out. But, yeah, 30 minutes on Google, figure this shit out.
Wanky. A janky, wonky, not consistent thing. If it's a mess, don't put it in the fucking game. But they didn't care. They said, we're going to put it in, and now how many people are going to have issues with game mechanics like this? And it's stupid, because the game mechanic is great. As it worked, it was amazing. She's one of the best characters in the whole game when she has this build. And now the one item that made this build work, right, disappears from the game. Now, I have a theory about this, okay? I want you to understand something. I actually don't blame this on D&D at all. Because in D&D, now correct me if I'm wrong, and you guys are going to know better than me. In Dungeons & Dragons, there's a dungeon master, correct? So a situation happens where something kind of breaks. You know what I'm saying? Or, you know what I'm saying? If there's a problem, then the dungeon master would fix it, correct? Like the dungeon master is kind of like God behind the scenes, omnipotent, and can try to resolve issues and things that don't seem to make sense. Because let's be honest, when you have something with this many moving parts, D&D has been around for a zillion years, correct? And so I'm sure there's so many addendums and new things that have been added to D&D over the years. Maybe not all of them jive and fit together. Like puzzle pieces, they don't exactly fit right. So is it not the dungeon master's job to kind of resolve those issues? And if that's the case, then that makes sense, right? But I mean, again, if I'm wrong, correct me, but there has to be like a ruling body on this stuff when you're playing D&D, because it wouldn't always fit, right? There might be issues that need to be resolved. There is no dungeon master playing a video game. And that's the problem. So this obviously is a situation. There is absolutely no situation whatsoever where this spear should just be yeeted from the game. Just zoop up into space or into another dimension, or maybe it got shoved up Gortash's ass and you can't get it out. I don't know where it is. I don't care. It shouldn't have happened. Even if the spear, again, didn't connect properly and missed or whatever, which it didn't. It did connect. It hit everybody. It should still land on the floor again. We literally just saw that a turn before when it bounced off of someone, came back and hit Karlach. She fell and the spear landed on the ground. Right? So why on the holy hell, the second time that the second thing happened?
The first time you threw it, bounced off and hit Karlach, fell to the ground, it was from her hand. It was an equipped weapon. The second time you threw it, it was a world object. Is that not supposed to happen? I don't know. I'm not Larian. But that's what happened, according to Google and Twitter and everything else I've been saying.
Happened again, did it have a different outcome? Bad coding. It's the only explanation. The whole throwable objects thing in this game is fucked up. And it shouldn't even be a build. It shouldn't be an option unless they were going to refine it and fix it. This game's been out since September. I'm not playing this game release week. This game has been out more than half a year. They had ample time to fix this. But if you haven't heard, Larian already made their announcement. Okay? Their announcement is, we are not doing DLCs for Baldur's Gate. We are not making Baldur's Gate 4. We're moving on to other projects. We're done with this.
Because Wizards of the Coast and Hasbro fired everyone that they were working with. Hey, we got a question about this. Oh, that guy's fired. Oh, hey, we need to look into... Oh, that guy's fired. Oh, wait, no, that guy's fired. It's like, you know what? We're done. Everyone we worked with was fired. There was no one for us to go to for questions or ideas or details or anything else. So yeah, we're done.
We're wiping our hands of it. So they're done with this. They don't give a shit. You know, this is something that absolutely should be fixed, and I doubt they ever will, because I bet you're not going to see many or any real improvements moving forward. They made their big announcement, right? Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they'll do the right thing and continue to go back and fix things like this. But this is awful, all right? 130 hours played. A build specific to this weapon that works and has beaten big-ass endgame bosses, and now I'm going to be cheated out of that because the game doesn't work. This was not an error on my part. This is not, I didn't understand that
you don't understand the rules.
Astarion was going to leave my party and take my items with him, and I'm crying over it. You know, this is a situation where the game's coding's fucked up. An item finger snapped off the planet, and I'm just supposed to swallow that? No, absolutely not. I have the right to voice my opinion.
They've also already said that they're going to continue with patches on the game to make it work and try to get integration with mods to work better. But yeah, they're not making DLC. They're not making a Baldur's Gate 4 because Hasbro and Wizards of the Coast fired everyone. Like, oh, if we have a question, who the fuck do we ask? Hey, we need something, who do we ask? Because they fired everyone we worked with.
And to tell you, this game is a buggy, janky mess at the end. It's funny because other parts of the game haven't been like this, but I'll tell you, since I got to Act 3, it's just been like increasing amount of these kind of problems every time I play. And it's like, all right, I'll forgive this one. All right, I'll forgive this one. I literally had like 7 in a row yesterday. And at that point, I got to put my foot down and be like, it's fucked up.
Your gouty foot.
All right. And now you might say, well, it's probably on the ground. No, I searched. Watch the video from yesterday. I did the area search. You hold down X and it does the circle on the ground. It's not there. I finished the fight, by the way. I beat Gortash. And then it's just gone. All right. Now, what's funny is some people are like, there's Reddit threads about this. And some people have complained about exactly the same thing. Even some people have complained about the exact thing in that fight. Okay. And some people said, just listen to this. Oh, I found it randomly in an enemy's inventory, but the enemy never picked it up. It's just there. What? Other people have said it was on the ground, but invisible. Other people have said it was randomly in another character's inventory in their party for no good reason. Huh? Okay, so what we got to do...
So take 5 minutes and fucking look!
When we boot up today, is we have to try to fuck around with the game. Maybe just by reloading, it'll be there. Maybe. But if I continue to play, that means I lose the item forever? Right? What? It doesn't make any fucking sense. right? And like I said, I did do the area search, and it's not on the floor. So some people are like, oh, it's under Gortash's body. It's literally not there. I've tried. So maybe it is in his inventory. Why would it be in his inventory? Like I said, did it literally get stuck up his ass when I threw it? And so it's like attached to him now? It doesn't really make much sense at all. All right? So basically, I really, 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 really hope that spear's in there. Because if not, my Karlach will not be essentially viable for the end game. I mean, I have another spear that returns when you throw it, but it's not that good. It's very weak. So that, and it doesn't do the force damage. It doesn't do the area of effect. So it's not going to be that good. I think I have a legendary spear that has light ability, like the what's it called? The light ability in this game. I'm having a brain fart. Whatever that light magic is, it has that in it, but I don't think it auto returns. And that's the problem. If it doesn't auto return, then it's worthless. You know? Now it's funny because Tub says, oh, there's another great hammer that will do the same thing. Dude, we're at the end. We're at the end of the game. Do you want me to do more questing to go try to find this random fucking hammer that's somewhere hidden in the game that I didn't get because the game glitched my fucking legendary spear out of existence?
You want me to play a video game? What the fuck do you think this is? A gaming channel?
It's like, no, we want to finish the game. Right? So, okay, some people, this is good news. I'm being told, no, Larian did not say they're going to wipe their hands of Baldur's Gate 3. They have committed to continuously improving the game for a little bit at least for now, for the foreseeable future. So that's good. And, you know, I want to know that information. So that's good. Fix the fucking spear. In fact, how about this? Larian Studios, everyone who's working there at Larian Studios, there's a matter of utmost importance that you must resolve immediately. Okay, I want you to step away from your computers, put down your
shut the fuck up.
Coffees, get out of your big boardroom meetings, your dev team meetings. I want you to all listen. Immediately, you must put down everything you're doing, and you must return to work, and you must code my spear back into my game specifically. It is of the utmost importance that you drop everything in your lives. If you're on the toilet taking a shit right now, pinch it off, get your
scat reference.
Put your pants up, don't even wipe, get right to your workstations right now, and get this fucking spear back into my inventory. This I demand. All right? Let's get to work. Enough is enough. This is unfair, all right? Listen, I paid 130 hours of your goddamn game. I want my fucking spear.
But you paid $0 for it because it was gifted to you by someone else.
I've had enough of this shit. Obviously, I'm being silly, all right? But, yeah, this is pretty silly and stupid. I mean, I want to tell you guys, here's the thing. I really feel like in the modern gaming universe, too many things get fanboyism behind it, okay? Particularly, one of the hugest things is Nintendo. It's like, oh, Nintendo shit doesn't stink. Everything Nintendo does is great. And in reality, we all agree, I think.
Remember, this entire rant is because of a spear going missing.
Kind of behind the scenes, outside of the realm of the Nintendo fanboys who own every one of these, right? We all agree that Nintendo makes a lot of missteps and mistakes, but somehow they always just get forgiven and continue to be successful regardless of all the mistakes that they make, right? Why? Fanboyism. Because the fanboys run out there and just blindly defend every action that they do, buy every piece of things that they sell, so it's like they're above reproach, right? In this case, with all the things I heard about Baldur's Gate 3, that I have to play a game of a generation and yada, 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 right? I do feel like Baldur's Gate 3 is an anomaly. I have never in my life played a video game that provided this much content of this quality level for the price that they provided it for. It's almost like weird. And now I understand why those game devs last year were like, don't expect all of us to follow suit. It's unfair for us to do the same that they've done. I mean, the incredible amount of content in this game is bang for your buck if I've ever seen it. Like, this game's playthrough is equivalent to, like, my Skyrim playthrough last year, including all the DLCs. And this doesn't have any DLCs. You know what I'm saying? So I totally get it. But at the same time, what baffles me is that it is apparent this game is not fully refined, has a lot of issues, particularly in Act 3, and no one talks about that. Everyone's like, best game ever, game of the year. I really would love statistics on this. How many people who bought this fucking game got to Act 3 to even say something like that? I would guarantee you half the fucking games journalists who kiss this game's butt never fucking played it that far. You know? They played the first act and said, oh, okay, I get it. And then they just praised the shit out of it to follow the fucking suit. I'm sorry, but I have a hard time believing that most people who got Baldur's Gate 3 played it for 130 fucking hours, got through the game, didn't feel this jankiness at the end, and just, if they did, they forgave it? I don't get it.
I put in fewer than 130 hours of my first gameplay stream. Beat it. Loved it. Played in it again. On and off here and there because I also got other games to play, but I have never had any of these issues. Even with all the mods I have, I don't have these kind of issues.
You know, I'm here to try to bring you my honest perspective. I really like the game, but this game is not flawless. This game is not the best RPG ever. It's got problems. Maybe if they continue to patch, fix, and refine it, it'll be the best game ever made in like a year. But it's got all these problems now. And I can't forgive those or just overlook them to follow the bandwagon of what everyone says around me that it's amazingly flawless. It's not. It's got tons of problems. Really, it's just frustrating to me because I don't understand why everyone kisses the game's butt. And no one has called out these major kind of problems. Maybe I'm just the unlucky schmuck who gets every problem. I don't know. But man, I'm not making this shit up. As we go along, we encounter the next annoying thing, the next annoying thing. And again, I'll be honest with you. No, this would not have been my game of the year last year. It might maybe ranked top 3, but it wouldn't have been my game of the year. When you get to a point where you're just exhausted and you want a game to end and you're not getting enjoyment much out of it anymore, that's a bad sign.
You were exhausted with this game and wanting it to end before you even started up the first stream.
Baldur's Gate 3 has overstayed its welcome. It has so much content in it that you just feel this heavy level of exhaustion by the end. And when the game starts having these problems, and now your enjoyment is sucked out of your experience. I had zero enjoyment in that Gortash boss fight yesterday. Zero. Even with all my stuff going on, I'm like, this sucks. Too complex, too many moving parts, too much jankiness, pisses me off, just want to fucking get through it, but it's like pulling teeth, right? It's like, I just want this to end, but I'm going to be stuck in this room for an hour of torture. Well, I don't want to be tortured for an hour. I'm supposed to be enjoying a video game. You know what I mean? And that's how I feel at this point. Now, hopefully, we're in the end now, and hopefully the end fight isn't like that. I'm sure it's going to be the most complex fight in the game, especially because it seems like all the characters will be returning who we've recruited over the course of the game to help us. But man, it's going to suck if the end fight is again.
If he actually gets to the other brain and beats it, I will be highly surprised.
Another thing, a million fucking new vectors and moving parts and variables you don't understand, and this doesn't work here, and this ain't working here, and a glitch here, and a bug here, and this fucking person gets shot into the fucking Nintendo world, and this person is fucking erased from, fuck this. I just want to play it and beat it. I don't want to spend the next week trying to figure out what the fuck they were trying to do for some weird ending. You know what I mean? So I guess we're going to see what happens. And go from there. Let's see. If anything, though, it's funny because someone said, how fitting to the plot is it that it's actually Karlach who basically gives her all in this fight against Gortash, the guy who betrayed her and originally made her a slave in the Hells, right? He's the one who sold her off to the Hells as a slave and got that infernal engine to be put into her and everything. That she just gives her absolute 100% last bit of everything to beat him, but now basically she's completely burned out and worthless because she lost her build. She can't even use it anymore, right? So it's funny because if you're a role player...
So then redo her build. You can go to Withers at any moment you want and redo your characters. This game is so fantastic with being like, all right, well, I already have a druid. Now I got you here. I don't want another druid. Let's make her a bard. I now have a bard here in my group. It's fucking hilarious.
It actually kind of fits the story, doesn't it? Like, she went all out in that fight, and she beat Gortash, but now she's spent. She's done. She's out of energy because she gave it all to beat this asshole. So that's kind of funny. But at the same time, that's fucked up because I have this character built for the end game, and now I can't use her if the spear's gone. So we'll see what happens. I mean, it sucks. I would have liked to just boot up the game today and be like, hey, everyone, we're going to go right to the final area, and let's engage with the final end game content. And I can't do that because now we have to try to fuck around and see where the spear went, if it even exists. Does it exist in the game world? Is it fused to a body? Is it in the walls? Is it up my ass? I don't know. Won't know till we fuck around, and I don't like fucking around. You know, I got shit to do. I got a brain to stop. I got a big ass
have nothing to do.
Brain to stop. That's probably, at this point, who knows what's going on with this thing. And I don't got time to fuck around over a magic toothpick, but apparently I got to, you know? So let's see what happens. But my rant ends at this, all right? This game absolutely has flaws. It is not flawless. If you like it as your Game of the Year pick of last year, more power to you. I can totally understand your position why. I would never give Game of the Year to a game that causes me this level of anxiety and stress because it doesn't fucking work right. I just wouldn't.
Anxiety and stress from a video game.
Still ranked high. Like, I would probably, number score, it's got to be an 8 or a 9. You know what I mean? But I would never be giving this game my Game of the Year award when I'm pissed off at it like this. I shouldn't be angry playing the game because it fucked up. So, there you go.
Take a sip.
Okay.
Okay, that's enough of this fucking rant. All because he lost a spear. One weapon disappeared. We just had a over 45 minutes rant. Again, that was at 1.25 speed. Holy shit, DSP. Calm the fuck down. Play the game. Let them let you guys go. Thank you for watching. As always, like, subscribe, comment down below, and have one hell of a day.